we are going to continue our conversation on air conditioning, and we're going to talk a little bit more about schematics. Now, the reason I'm spending a bunch of time on the schematics is because you do have to understand how a system is wired, you have to understand the sequence of operation, and you have to be able to look and understand a ladder schematic as well as a pictorial diagram. So what I have up on my screen now are the core components of an air conditioning split system. Okay, and this is going to be a pictorial diagram. But before we start drawing the diagram, let's go ahead and look at what we have here. I have an L1 and a neutral. Okay, so we know this is going to be a 120 volt system. So before we go too much further, let's just put that in there. We know this is a 120 volt system. Okay, so then we have our transformer, we have a compressor, we have a CFM, condenser fan motor, we have an evaporator fan motor. In this case, everything is a shaded pole motor. In real life, will we see a shaded pole motor for this? No. Okay, we're going to see a PSC, 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 or a CSCR, PSC, PSC motors on this stuff. Okay, we have two pressure switches now. Okay, pressure switches are not operating controls. They are safety devices. So we'll have to make sure those get in the circuit. Okay, we also have we have a contactor that's going to control our compressor and our condenser fan motor. And we have a relay that's going to control our evaporator fan motor. And this is probably like a Mars relay or Cube relay. Again, pinouts 1, 2, and 3. 1 to 2 is a normally open. 1 to 3 is a normally closed. For air conditioning, we're going to use the 1 to 2. Okay, this little squiggly line inside this disconnect up here is just, it tells me there's a fuse there. So the first thing I want to do is I am going to go ahead and connect my neutrals in. I like starting with neutrals because there I'm never going to forget it. So actually, let me undo that. I want to use the other one. I'm going to use lines. Just makes it a little neater. So I am going to come in. I want to connect my transformer, because we know that that's going to need to be a neutral. Okay, and then I'm going to come ahead and connect all my fan motors. I'm just going to come straight through because I know that that's going to have to be a neutral there. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put this line in to connect my neutrals, expand it down there, and just make sure everything connects together. Okay, so what we have now, we have all of my line voltage neutrals in. Now I'm going to change my color a little bit here just so we have a different color. And I'm going to go ahead and put my line voltage line in. I have 4 connections that I got to make. Actually, we're going to go back to neutral because I need to make one more connection. Okay, L2. Actually, we're going to skip that. I don't need L2 in here on this one. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put in my lines. Okay, so I'm going to come out of line. Okay, unfortunately, I am going to cross the neutral here. This is not a connection. This is just a cross. That's why I'm going to use the different line colors. Okay, I'm going to come out here from L1. And I'm going to come in here. And just make it neater. The neater your schematics are to start with, the better off you're going to be. Okay. Now, we fed my L1. Out of my actually, we have one more L1 I want to do. Okay, so I'm going to come out of here because I got to feed my evaporator fan motor. Okay. Now, everything after this is going to be switched. So I want to go ahead and take care of the rest of my line voltage side. So I want to come out of T1, and I'm going to come out of T1 to 2 loads, okay? The reason we're going to go to 2 loads is because when the compressor starts, we always want to get our, if the compressor starts, I want to get my condenser fan on as well, right? Because without the condenser fan, we're not going to reject enough heat, and we'll eventually overheat the compressor and our pressures will get too high. So we're going to go ahead and connect in my compressor and my condenser fan. Okay, out of pin 2 here, I'm going to connect my evaporator fan. Now that's going to be a little bit of an angle because they don't line up right on the paper. So when we look at this, what else do we need to connect on a line voltage side? I have all my devices connected on a line voltage side. Okay, so there's really nothing else. Everything else is considered control voltage because it's on the secondary side of the transformer. So let's go ahead. I'm going to change my pen color. Okay, I'm going to go to a blue, and I'm going to come out of my transformer on the transformer primary or secondary side, and I'm going to connect in red. Okay, now some people will come down and actually we're going to come ahead and pull this over just a little bit. Okay, and the reason I'm doing this is because I want to keep those pressure switches clear. Okay, now some people will come down and throw the safeties right in there, but we have to remember most split systems, this entire portion, the switching, the transformer, and the blower motor will be on the inside. My compressor, my condenser fan motor, and my contactor and my pressure switches will all be on the outside. So we just have to be aware of that when we connect this stuff. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just use green here because that's the color you normally see on the fan. Okay, and I'm going to connect in my fan relay. Does it matter if I connect to the left or the right of the relay coil? No, because this is low voltage, okay, and it's AC, so it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to again come out here. We'll change color a little bit. I can't use white, so for low voltage, we're going to go for our low voltage. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and use brown. So on my fan, I'm going to come up here, and I need to connect back to the common on my transformer. Okay, so we now have a circuit for our fan. So when the thermostat calls for cooling, because the fan switch is in auto, you can see that down here, because the fan switch is in auto, when it calls for cooling, we're going to send 24 volts to our coil, and I want to take that back to green, and that isn't exactly what I wanted, but that's okay. We'll just okay, and then that's going to energize this relay coil, and it's going to close the normally open and turn my indoor fan on. Now we still have to deal with the compressor contactor here. Okay, now here's where the safeties become very important. Okay, I want to come out of yellow, and that's, I'm going to change my line color to yellow. Okay, and Oh, this is going to be hard to see. Let's change that to um, let's use something different. Let's use purple. Okay, that's a little bit easier to see. Okay, so I'm going to come out of here. Now, I got to come through my... I need to come through my safeties, okay? Before I do anything else. And actually, let's go ahead and do it this way. Now, I'm going to come over from here to my coil. Then I'm going to come out of my coil and I'm going to switch my line color here because now I'm dealing with low voltage common. Okay, and I'm going to come back there. So here's what we've done in this diagram, okay? Let's look at the sequence of operation. Thermostat calls for cooling. R to Y is going to close. As long as my pressure switches are in the right are closed, I'm going to energize this coil. I'm also going to provide a path for current through G, and I'm going to energize the evaporator fan motor coil. I'm going to close 1 to 2, turn on my fan. I'm going to close L1 to T1, and I'm going to turn on my compressor and condenser fan. The reason why L2 is not wired here is we have a neutral. Okay, this isn't, you're not required to put a neutral through L2 and T2. Now, that's the pictorial. But now we also have to talk about the ladder schematic. Okay, so what are we going to do with a ladder schematic? So the first thing I'm going to do on a ladder schematic is I am going to draw my ladders, okay? Now on this one is a little different because I am definitely going to have a transformer on this one where I haven't had that in the past. Okay, but I have my L1 and I have my neutral. Okay, now I do have a low voltage side, but I'm going to go ahead and grab I have a pre-made schematic of a transformer that I'm going to go ahead and grab and just copy over, okay? Because I have a transformer here that I've drawn in the past, and again, it's okay to use pre-made symbol sheets. Okay, let's get that transformer in before we do anything else. Okay, now, just because I do like starting out with a ladder, okay, we're going to go ahead and just put our ladder in on the low voltage side as well. Okay, now we have a switch here. We can't forget about my switch. Okay, let's go ahead and label before we forget about our labeling. L1, and I want to label my neutral. Okay, I'm going to go 120. Okay, and I have my label already on my transformer for my 24. Okay, so what's next we're going to do? We're going to come back over here. I need, okay, my thermostat, I need a fan relay, and I need a contactor. So let's go ahead back over here. We know my thermostat's going to be on the low voltage side. My relay coils are all going to be on the low voltage side. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to grab a schematic of my cooling thermostat with fan control that I already have drawn. So let's copy that over and hope that it actually copies. Okay. And again, I've drawn these schematics so many times, that's why I actually use them in this manner. If you're in a classroom, your instructor may want you to draw the schematics until you start getting used to them. But it's sometimes nice to just have a sheet where you can copy. Okay, so now I need a relay coil. Okay, don't have one of those pre-made up. So a relay coil is just going to look like that. Okay, so we're going to copy that relay. I'm just going to make a relay coil real quick because I don't think I made one to copy before. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. Isn't what I wanted. Okay, so I have a relay coil now. Isn't exactly what I wanted, so let's just, I want to neaten this up a little bit here. Okay, let's go ahead. I want to do edit. Okay, I want to copy that. I'm going to pull it over here. I'm going to do 2 of these. I'm going to offset them a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to connect them up because I need to connect, first of all, I need to connect him over here to common because every load in the low voltage side has to come back to common. And then I'm going to connect that to G. Okay, I'm going to label that before I forget. This is my IFR. Indoor fan relay. This is my CC, compressor or condenser contact, or a compressor contact. It really doesn't matter. Now we got to do something else. Remember, we have 2 more components here on the control side. Okay, so let's go ahead. We have 2 pressure switches. So I have a high pressure switch and I have a low pressure switch. So I want to select my high pressure switch. Okay, and I'm going to put that in on this diagram. And then I'm going to come back over here. And I also need my low pressure switch, right? Because we had a low pressure switch over there. And just because I like the labels, I'm going to offset those a little bit. I'm going to connect those together. Okay, now that's everything on our low voltage side. Let me just, again, because I'm a little bit picky on labeling, let me just put in TH for thermostat. And I want to put a service switch in. Okay, now, so we have our low voltage side. Now let's look back at our original diagram, and we need to look at what we have. I have a compressor, CFM, and EFM. EFM is off a single, normally open set of contacts. Okay, the compressor and CFM are off of a, we're only using one pole, but it is a contactor. So let's go back over here. I'm going to pull in a shaded pole motor diagram for actually 3 of them I need. Okay, so we're going to pull this picture because I've drawn that before. And I'm going to push it in here. Might as well put it on the neutral side while I'm here. I'm going to okay, now let's label these so we don't forget what I'm doing. I am going to go ahead and start with my EFM up top. Then I'm going to do my compressor. And then I'm going to do my condenser fan motor. Okay, and the only reason I do it in that order, it really doesn't matter when you look at it, but the reason I do it in that order is because the shaded pole motor, the EFM, is actually controlled individually when we look at it. The other two are controlled together. So what I'm going to do is I need a normally open contact. Okay, I'm going to grab that. Okay, and I'm going to come back over here, paste it in, and then I'm going to rotate so that it's that way. Okay, and I need another one of these, so I'm going to just do a, because I need 2 of these. Okay. I'm probably going to get rid of that other one. So what we are going to do is we have that one there. And I'm going to just, I want to cut that. Okay, and now I have my 2 contacts here. Let's go ahead and label them. The labels on my contacts up there have to match my label here. So I'm going to do an IFR and I'm going to do a CC. That way when you're looking at a large schematic, your labels match. Okay, now I just got to connect them in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to draw a line. Okay, this is the first rung on my ladder. So I'm going to come out of here. I'm going to come over here. And I'm going to come out of here. And unfortunately, I'm not going to have a straight line, so I'm going to just do a connection there. Then I'm going to come out of here. I'm going to connect to my L1. And I'm going to come out of here. And I'm going to connect to both. Okay. So when we look at this, let's look at the sequence of operation. Okay, it's much easier to see your sequence of operation on a ladder diagram than it is to see your sequence of operation on a pictorial. Okay, so as the diagrams get bigger, this becomes a mess of wires. Okay, and this is a very clear picture of what is going on. So if our thermostat closes because it's calling for cooling, again, temperature rise closes. This is my fan switch. The reason it has an arrow is it could have two positions. Okay, my second position could be over here. But because it's in auto mode, when my thermostat closes, I'm going to get power. I'm going to energize the IFR and the compressor contact, or CC, as long as my pressure switches are closed. Then, once those coils energize, I'm going to close the IFR, close the CC, and I'm going to energize my compressor, my CFM, and my EFM. This is 24 volts down here. This is line voltage up here. Most likely, this rung is all outside in the condensing unit. Okay, this rung is all outside in the condensing unit. This will be inside, and this will be, and everything else down here is going to be obviously inside, or in wherever the air handler is.